attention. Just wanna be. Girl, I like the way you move. Really wanna get with you. Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show it through.
Hello and welcome to Robin Minds. My name is Hero Daniels. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon and I hope you're having a great day. These days I find myself doom scrolling on social media because every single point in time there is some content, a piece of content that is engaging me. And these days it feels like fame has become its own kind of currency. From TikTok trends to viral controversies, Everybody is chasing visibility, sometimes even when it comes to no real substance. But what's really behind this obsession with being known? Is it about validation, opportunity, or just survival in a world that rewards attention more than talent? On this edition, we'll be taking a look at the fame economy, the culture of clout, content and constant exposure. Why do people crave fame, even when it doesn't mean much sometimes? And what happens when being popular becomes more important than being purposeful? We're going to be exploring this particular topic with our guest in the studio, the founder of Happy Vibe Services, Chukwuma Eze. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Daniels.
So we're talking about the price of fame, the obsession with fame, why everybody wants to be seen. First of all, at what points should somebody be termed famous? Or at what points does somebody become famous?
From the layman's understanding, because I'm going to be speaking a lot from the perspective of a layman, it's, when a lot of eyeballs and a lot of memories can recollect you. When people say, oh, I know you from somewhere, or I know you with this, or know you for that, for anything, as long as people can recollect maybe something, maybe not a lot, but just they can see you and there's a bit of a recognition for something, seeing you somewhere. I think that's, for me, it's akin to being tagged, quote unquote, famous.
Okay, interesting. So these days, everybody seems to be pursuing social media numbers. Why is that?
Well, again, just like you said in your intro, validation. Right? A lot of people are looking for that high. Our brains are primed to, that dopamine hit, and when you, okay, I have a bit of, I have a few thousand followers, not a few thousand, I have a community of over 300,000 people, and across my pages, cumulatively, I have close to 50,000. So when you come online and you see those notifications, your phone is buzzing, this person commented, this person liked, it kind of like, triggers this dopamine hit where you feel happy, you feel loved, you feel seen, you feel appreciated for what you are. And at the end of the day, human beings, primarily just want to feel as much good, as good as they can feel. So fame offers, that's like a drug. That dopamine hit is one of the things that fame offers, and that's one of the reasons why people chase it, because not a lot of people like themselves or like their current reality. So being famous, being idealized, being pedestalized is something that gives them that feeling of, I'm something, I'm worth something,
Okay, so we're going to talk about the impact that, these have. People can just pick up their phones and create content, and then they begin to form their own communities and begin to form their own tribe. But before we talk about the impact it has on the actual community and on the general populace, what is in for them? Does attention translate to real cash?
Very interesting question. Well, in my own case, right, it's like a double-edged sword, right? It can change your life, but it can also wreck it, But it's like it's like fire. Use it well, you can cook a really good food. Use it wrongly, it can burn the whole studio down. So fame, like me, I am someone who has a way with words. I know how to write stories. I know how to talk. I know how to speak. I know how to communicate with people. I know how to share my stories in a way that I get you to feel what I felt when I was experiencing that. And that is how I started Happy Vibe Services. I've grown it, to a large community online, and we've made calls to tens of thousands of people. How did I start it? During the pandemic, I was locked in a room and I started making, writing stuff online. And I realized, people like what I did, and I formed a community around it. I started offering that community value. There was a community we were part of on Facebook, and then from there I started offering them value via calls, and people started, because they feel like they know me, because I was a bit quote unquote famous to them, they started patronizing and actually paying Naira and Kobo into my account. So for someone who started in the markets of Onitsha to now be in his room during the lockdown, during COVID-19 virus, and was making money from the comfort of his room, while my shops and my, welding workshops were locked. It translated to actual value for me. And it can actually translate to, it changed my life. I moved to Lagos, I'm building the company, I'm expanding our tentacles into many other things. So I am who I am today because I leveraged on social media. A phone, the barrier for entry, like you said, is really low. A phone, data, some pictures, put yourself in front of the camera and you can become famous. But it also has a very dark side where the constant chase for that validation can now get you involving in controversies, doing things you shouldn't do just to get that hit again, just to get engagement, and it can really derail people.
Okay, so I'm going to be very specific this time around. If you want to sort of talk about how this has affected people's personal lives, it's like there's no privacy anymore. And then, some people even sometimes lie on social media just to get the attention. A typical case would be when Blessing CEO came online and said that she was experiencing domestic abuse from her husband. And later on, a couple of posts later, she said she was doing it for the clout, that she needed to test whether she was still the queen of attention. What would you make of such a situation?
Well, like I said, it's a double-edged sword. And then again, we live in an attention, economy. The day before, you have to actually have something valuable. You have to have like a real skill that it took you years to learn, there's something you really have, value you have to offer. But today, as long as you have anything, a story, gist, a lie that you can use to grab attention, you are good to go. So people try to grab as much attention as they can. And when they can't grab it with authentic stuff, they will try to grab it with lies so that they can, like you said, know if they are still the queen of whatever. So things like that, it's just sad to see because going to the extent of telling lies to your followers, it shows that this person is someone who's, sorry, I don't like putting my mouth into other people's business, but this is someone who's now a bit drunk or a bit addicted to that attention, and that is part of the negative sides that we're talking about. So it's sad to see, and that's just one case. There are so many cases where people come online and you leverage on social media to accuse people wrongly. Some might even just make up a story that someone did this, someone maybe sexually violated them or did this just to get people to mob violence. And then, okay, look at the story of what happened the other day on Twitter. A driver, a boat driver, an honest boat driver that was being accused of robbing people with his gang. Whereas the lady actually paid him the money, settled with it wasn't even like a robbery. She gave money to Monile or something like that. And then she went on Twitter an hour, 2 hours later and told a different story and got the attention. And then when the man now came to tell his own part of the story, the internet turned on her. The attention she wanted to get, she got it. She now had to start telling the different story. But she almost wrecked that man's life. If that man didn't come online to, make a disclaimer and tell the real side of events, his own side of events, which we later found out was what really happened, that he didn't rob them, he didn't, do anything wrong to them. That man's career, because they already blocked him from the platform. So that man's money, source of income was already blocked. So that's, again, the dark side of, people trying to be famous.
So a lot of people would say that no press is bad press, no attention is bad attention. What do you make of that?
Attention is attention, and we live in an attention community, attention economy. Right. But me personally, I do believe some press is bad press. I am a forward-thinking young Nigerian. I know that I have other things to do in the future. Right. I do not want to get attention for something bad. Oh, he's a thief. Oh, because these things catch up, So you say, yes, people now know you, but they know you for the wrong reasons, you know? And these things add up. The internet never forgets. So, dear viewer, there is attention that is actually bad attention. When you show up, I'm like, she be like you with a thief the other day,
Let's talk about the impact on real families and the concept of the court of public opinion. A typical case would be where you have a senator of the Federal Republic, Ned Nwoko, and one of the most recognizable faces in Nollywood, Regina Daniels. For a couple of years now, they've been the media sweethearts, wonderful, it's a fairy tale wedding, it's a fairy tale affair, it's a fairy tale marriage. And now we have a man that is saying that his wife or his estranged wife is on drugs. Regina, on the other hand, and of course, he arrested the brother, and the saga has just been ongoing.
Crazy.
And a lot of people have hot takes on this particular issue. Even Regina herself had to go online and say, yes, she admits that she has indulged herself in some drugs, but she was married at the age of 17. And so this sparked up a lot of conversations. Some people are on several sides of the divide. What do you make of such an important story that is being put out there on social media that is having real impact on this family in question? So is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Or is it also a good opportunity for people to really know what is really going on, you know, in people's personal lives? What do you make of that entire saga?
My brother, personally, I think family is sacred, you know, and even though I'm in the media space, my family is something that I'm going to try as much as possible. My kids, my family, try as much as possible to get out of the internet, because from what I've seen so far, whenever anything concerning your family that is private makes it to the internet and people are now giving hot takes on it, you know, it triggers the tribal part of our brains where the feminists are on this side, the chauvinists are on this side. It's something that once it becomes a mess online, it's something that cannot go away anymore. Something that might have been resolved by getting two people to sit down. Once one person gets dragged or two people are dragging each other, mudslinging each other on the internet, it becomes it comes to the court of public opinion. It becomes, of course, extremely messy. Social media and fame amplifies things. It can amplify it positively, it can amplify it negatively. And in this case, sorry to say, it's amplifying it negatively, where for the past few days, we've just been following negative updates. This person is saying this is this. So he's saying, yes, I'm on drugs, but all your other wives are on drugs, you know. Like the whole family, the country would definitely, and me, definitely now see them in a different light. Because a few years ago, people were like, Regina Daniels is my role model. You know, nobody will advise me for marriage again except Regina Daniels. She made the right choice. She secured the bag. Today, we are now seeing a different side of things. And we can never, once we know, we cannot unknow.
Yeah, but again, as much as we say we want to keep this things out of social media, a lot of people are also of the opinion that this young lady was a young girl. First of all, she wasn't even, according to her, because if she said she was 17 as at the time she got married, she wasn't even of legal age. So it means that she, by law, she is not supposed to make certain decisions for herself. And I mean, by law also, by law, you're getting married to somebody that is not legal, even though some parts of this country in the Sharia law, of course, that is acceptable. But globally, you know, it's not something that's acceptable. And then people are saying that this is a young girl that is crying out for help. Now, and this is the only avenue where she can cry out for help, because she doesn't have the resources, you know, to use the legal means and to use other means. So that in itself, is it a bad thing that social media avails her the opportunity to voice out being a child, you know, being a woman in this country?
Again, it's all about perspectives. Two people are fighting, right? One person has power, you know, of course, you know, offline power. This is real power in the world where they can actually leverage on their connections, you know, their relationships with the law enforcement, or, you know, in the corridors of power to actually deal with you, you know. And she has social media power, like, you know, she has fame. And again, if you're going to fight, you know, with someone, if they bring out a knife, you bring out a knife. They bring out a gun, you bring out, this is her gun. So I cannot fault her for using what she has to fight her battles, you know. What I was basically referring to then was more of the impact it's going to have, because the kids, the whole family, and the children definitely will feel the impact of this, you know, fighting back and forth. But then again, to answer your question, I do not blame Regina for fighting, because now she knows what she don't see, right? She knows what she's seen. And she's also saying that alleging that Ned actually asked her to get high because he likes her getting high before they can get intimate. You know, we are now knowing this because it would have ended at the accusation of she does drugs. But now she's saying, okay, I do it, but you made me do it, you know? And it's her own leverage, and she's using it for her battles, you know? But yeah.
All right. So now, speaking generally, I mean, we've now seen a lot of people use the social media platform to give hot takes on certain issues, and these people might not necessarily be authorities in those cases. You know, news outlets like this, you know, it's always dependable, because most often than not, you have to fact check, and there's certain processes you have to go through before you report the news. But on social media, there is no regulation, so to say. So it means that if somebody comes and say, I'm selling this product and this product can enlarge a part of your body, people take their word for it and they go ahead to purchase those products. So what do you make of such situations whereby people use their numbers to give takes or, you know, make certain recommendations, even though they are not supposed to be authorities in that particular field? Again,
Double-edged sword. Fame, social media, it can help create a lot of change. There are people who have been able to actually change the world and change the lives of people, leveraging on social media, starting movements. You know, they start by just, you know, an outrage, and then it snowballs into a movement. But the dark side is also, just like in China, I read an article that said there are certain people who are not allowed to, talk on any subject again unless they are graduates in that subject. You can't just come and start talking about, you know, health if you didn't, you know, study something. You are a graduate and you have a degree in health. Because a lot of people, especially in a country like this where people are looking for a means to make it, can just jump on social media and say, I will enlarge this thing without NAFTA registration, without anything. And that's the danger. And people are gullible, you know, because once you see someone, you've known this person on social media for a year, for this, you trust them, and then you send your money across to them. You know, that's how people get into Ponzi schemes. That's how people, because they feel a kind of connection, a kind of trust. This is someone you see on your screen. You don't know them, but it feels like you know them. You know, so it's terrible. But I just hope going forward, you know, our government agencies can also put things in place to just make sure that people who are talking about things on social media at least have an idea of the things they are talking about. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Chukwumeze, the founder, Happy Vibes Services.
All right. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. And yes, make sure you use social media positively. Robbing Mind continues after this break. Stay with us.